There are 8 billion people on Earth right now. 8 billion. That is a lot of people. A lot of bad drivers. A lot of people who talk in movie theaters. A lot of people who reply all on emails that did not need a reply all. 8 billion of us. And yet, there was a moment in history where that number was almost zero. Not as a metaphor, not as an exaggeration, literally almost zero. At one point, the entire human population may have dropped to just a few thousand people. And the wildest part is that most people have never even heard this story. So let's get into it. To understand how close we came to just not existing, you have to go back about 70,000 years. Scientists call this period the late Pleistocene. And during this time, something happened that nearly ended humanity before it really got going. It starts with a volcano. Not just any volcano, though. The Toba supervolcano, located in what is now Sumatra, Indonesia. Toba erupted approximately 74,000 years ago. And when scientists say it was the largest volcanic eruption in the last 2 million years, they are not being dramatic. You know how the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980 was considered one of the most catastrophic volcanic events in modern history? Toba was roughly 5,000 times more powerful than that. 5,000 times. So yeah, not a great Tuesday for humanity. The eruption threw so much ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere that it triggered what scientists call a volcanic winter. Sunlight got blocked. Temperatures dropped dramatically. Vegetation died across huge portions of the planet. And the humans alive at that time had nowhere to go and very little to eat. Now here is where the numbers start to get a little uncomfortable. Geneticist Marcus Feldman at Stanford University, along with researcher Lynn Jorde at the University of Utah, studied human genetic diversity. And what they found was honestly kind of shocking. Humans as a species have surprisingly low genetic diversity compared to other primates, like embarrassingly low. Chimpanzees living in a single forest in Africa actually have more genetic variation among them than all 8 billion humans on Earth combined. Think about that for a second. A group of chimps in one forest is genetically more diverse than our entire species. And the reason scientists believe this is because at some point our population went through what biologists call a genetic bottleneck. A genetic bottleneck is basically when a population drops so dramatically that the surviving group is only carrying a tiny fraction of the original genetic diversity. Imagine a library with 1 million books. A fire destroys almost everything. Only a few hundred books survive. Every library built after that can only work with those surviving books. That is what happened to us. Now the exact numbers depend on who you ask. But a 1998 study published in the journal Genome Research by geneticists Takahata, Lee, and Satta analyzed human genetic data and suggested the effective breeding population of humans at some point may have dropped to around 10,000 individuals. Some researchers put it even lower than that. Ambrose Stanley, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Illinois, published research in 1998 in the Journal of Human Evolution, arguing that the Toba eruption may have reduced the human population to somewhere between 2,000 and 10,000 survivors. 2,000 people on the entire planet. That is smaller than the capacity of a medium-sized concert venue. The whole of humanity, fitting inside one venue. No headliner, just vibes and survival. And here's the part that really gets me. Those people had absolutely no idea how serious the situation was. They were not sitting in emergency meetings. They were not tracking population numbers. They were just trying to find food, stay warm, keep their kids alive, move to wherever conditions were slightly less brutal. No written language, no government, no global communication system. Just small, scattered groups of exhausted humans trying to make it to the next day. Can you imagine? No phone, no map, no plan, just wake up and survive. And somehow they pulled it off. The survival story gets even more interesting when you follow where these people ended up. Genetic evidence suggests the humans who made it through the bottleneck were largely concentrated in Africa, specifically parts of East and South Africa where conditions, while still rough, were survivable enough. Spencer Wells, a geneticist who led the Genographic project at National Geographic, traced human migration patterns using mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome data. And his research points to something remarkable. Every single person alive on Earth today descends from that small population of Africans who survived this period. Every person, regardless of where they live now, regardless of what they look like, all of us, tracing back to a few thousand cold and hungry people who refuse to give up. Now, to be fair, not every scientist agrees on every detail here. Some researchers argue the population decline happened before Toba, not because of it. Others think the numbers were not as extreme as 2,000 and were closer to 10,000 or more. A 2010 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences by researcher Michael Petraglia and colleagues even found archaeological evidence in India suggesting some populations may have survived the Toba eruption with less disruption than previously thought. So the science is still being worked out. But here is what almost everyone agrees on. There was a bottleneck. The population got dangerously small, and the survival of our species during that stretch was genuinely not guaranteed. And that last part is what I keep coming back to. Because we talk about human history like it was always going to happen, like cities and language and civilization were just inevitable, but they were not. There was a real moment where one bad season, one failed migration, one small group not finding each other in time, could have meant none of this ever existed. No ancient Egypt, no Renaissance, no internet, no extremely long comment sections about things that do not matter, no you, and yet here we are. 8 billion people spread across every corner of the planet, building things, breaking things, falling in love, arguing online, making music, eating questionable food at 2 a.m. All of it descending from a group of survivors so small they could have fit inside your neighborhood. There is something genuinely humbling about that when you really let it land. Because whatever feels impossible right now, whatever feels too big or too heavy to get through, your ancestors survived the near extinction of the entire human species, with no technology, no infrastructure, no safety net, just instinct, each other, and an almost unreasonable refusal to quit. The Toba supervolcano tried to end the story before it really began, and a few thousand cold, tired, hungry humans quietly said no. Not dramatically, not heroically, just by surviving one more day, then another, until the ash settled, the temperatures rose, and humanity slowly started to grow again. Which means, in the most literal sense possible, every person alive today is descended from survivors, not as a motivational quote for your phone wallpaper, is actual documented genetic fact. And honestly, if that does not make you feel at least a little bit unstoppable, I do not know what will. Drop a comment and let me know what part of this got you the most. And if you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button.